Hello, Stephen here, and I'm joined with a beautiful young lady who I happen to call my daughter. And thank you for joining us. We want to just have a conversation around Psalm 147, verse 3, which says that He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds, and that is God our Father. Welcome, Belinda.
Thank you. Thank you
To
for
see you. Would you just share with us a little bit your story?
my story. Hi, I'm Belinda. I'm born in Tororo to the late now Lillian Akech and Godfrey Wawire. I am the first child of both of them. They both have ended up with different lives. Yeah, I am. I'm a product of what they call a love child. So my parents had me while they were in school. My mom got pregnant in school. She was in her senior 4. And it wasn't easy. It was tough. Some of the stories I remember her telling me were when she conceived. This guy, my dad, was one of the, I would say maybe a socialite or so in school back then, in their school. And he was quite a good-looking man. So for her, she was actually just humbled by the fact that this guy liked her above all these other girls that were literally throwing themselves at him. He liked her. But somehow, school and unguided or lack of counsel or something of the sort, she ended up pregnant for him. And then for him, on learning about the pregnancy, he fled, he ran. He couldn't handle. Mom, on the other hand, actually before he fled, both of them were literally embarrassed at school. Like on school assemblies, they were like the examples for everybody. Mom, I remember her telling me a story of how she was stripped naked as an example. Now, I find that really sad, but despite whatever someone has done, I think that was a little too much. But then also knowing those years back, punishment was punishment. So they were embarrassed and all. So when they broke off for holiday and all, Dad fled. And she never saw him again for the longest time ever until I was born and as of age. So Mom giving birth to me, she was a little girl. She was 17, and then she was really just coming of age and growing. She's an adolescent, almost an adult. And life, she still has the whole of her life out there. She was still an excited young girl. But her parents, she wasn't ready to become a parent. She still had her life going on. But her parents did not give up on her. I remember she told me her dad picked her up after she gave birth with the help of Fajil Monday. I think they put her back in school and she was taken to some teachers training college, and then she graduated, and years later she became a teacher. But then in my growing up, she had to let go of me a bit for her to continue with her education. But now the sad bit is the places I was taken to. I was taken to live with relatives. Some of them I do not even know how we are related, but they are relatives. That's all I can say. So in some of the homes I was taken to, I remember I was really young. 4, 5 to 6 is when my mind was now really starting to capture things, like to understand what life really is. And then anyone that knows the Ugandan setting, once a child grows from the village, their brain matures a little quickly. Because you're subjected to things that there's no time to waste. Life is happening, so grow up. So I grew up in one of the homes, and I remember vividly, I could have been 4 or 5. In this home, there was just boys. This I would call her a grandma. She had sons, and they were much older than I was. I was the only baby girl. I was the only girl child there. The other lady that was with us, I think I don't know if I should call her a relative. I don't know, because I don't even know her whereabouts today. But she was the other big, but she was really an adult. I think she even had kids of her own. But it felt more like she was a worker in the home. She was called Jessica, and I remember the name clearly. So in this home, being if people know how children grow up in the villages, especially the boy child, those that have grown in the east, in the north, they know this. Once a boy clocks a certain age, you're supposed to build your own hut. You're given a portion of your own land, build your own hut, and that's where you live until you get married. So these boys were given their own. They had their own huts. Now, me being a girl child, it was different. So I would take turn sleeping in, because I used to pee in bed. I would take turns sleeping in the different huts. Today she's sleeping on your side. Today she's sleeping on your side. So at this young age, 2 of the boys, they were really older than me. I was a child. They were really old. How I remember they were really old is they had pimples. Now, to me back then, if you have pimples, you're a grown person. At least you're not adolescent and over. So some of the nights that I would sleep in their huts, they would sexually molest me. And it literally was becoming a normal for them, because I was the only girl in the home. Now, I don't know if they knew how I was related to them or not, but it happened. And then I lacked the boldness to tell their mom, to tell my grandma, I would call her. I lacked the boldness to tell her anything. First of all, I was really young. I'm embarrassed. I'm scared. What if I tell on them and something happens? They beat me up or something. But also they would, every now and then, warn me. You say anything, we'll beat you up. So I had to keep my peace, and I never told that lady anything. She actually died without knowing what her sons ever did to me. Then somehow, when I was 6, my grandma, Mommy's mom, came back from Nairobi. She had lived in Nairobi for quite a bit, literally because of a broken marriage. So she left her marriage, went to Nairobi, and then after some time, she decided to come back home. So when she came back home, she picked me up. And for me, that was the start of a good life. I felt loved. I felt cared for. It was everything a little girl would ever have wished for. So I lived with my grandma. She catered for my everything. Everything. Mom would chip in every once in a while if she could. But my grandma was my mom. Actually, it took me years to know that she was actually not my mom, but she was my grandma. But the moment she took me in, I called her mom because I had her last born daughter and then her second last born daughter that lived with her. They called her mom. So I knew this is mom. So that is how I also adopted the whole thing. So we lived together. It was a good life until I remember one of these days that we went for a relative of ours died. I think my grandma's nephew died. And then we had to go for burial in the village. And then as we went for the burial, on the burial ground, you know how everyone is looking for where to lay a head and rest in the night as the mourners are going on and on. I was given a room with one of the other kids to sleep in. He was a boy. One of the older people there, the guys, I know he's called Richard. I still don't know how we are related still, but we are related. Richard came into our room, felt like he also wanted to sleep. So somehow he chose to sleep on the bed that I was on. Actually, before I went onto that bed, I think it was actually his bed. Me and this other little boy were placed on the same bed, but because this is their home, he pushed me off of the bed. He didn't want me to share the bed with him. He pushed me off of it. I fell. I cried, and then I was like, but this bed is free. Let me first be lying here. When the owner comes off, I'll do it. I'll move and sleep back down. I climbed onto that bed and slept. And then this guy came in. He wanted to sleep. So I was now excusing myself for him to get onto his bed. He was like, no. It's okay. You can sleep. I was like, thank you. I slept. But it was the longest night of my entire life, it felt. Because it's weird how people are mourning for the loss of someone out there, and someone is looking to help himself with a vulnerable young girl. It was sad, really sad. I was young. I could have been about 9 years old, 9 or 10. I could have been about that age. He took advantage of me as well, sexually, and went on and on and on, even when I cried. And then the boy that was sleeping on the other bed, I still can't tell if he had anything or not, because he kept on sleeping. I cried and cried because I cried myself to sleep after he was done with everything. I cried myself to sleep. In the morning I woke up. The bed was bloody because I was in pain. I rushed out of the house. I went to clean myself. And where I went to clean myself, this guy was actually there. They were killing. I think it was a goat that was supposed to be killed to cook for later on for the mourners. So he saw me, I saw him, and I freaked out. Now he's holding a panga against the goat's knife.
The neck, yeah.
And then the goat's neck, and then he looked at me and just signaled, or to scare me off.
Yeah.
You either keep quiet about what happened, or I'll kill you. Now that freaked me out a lot. So I had to look for elsewhere to clean myself up. I didn't say anything to anybody. People are mourning. How do you come up with this, And this was grandma's nephew. I honestly didn't have the courage to say anything. Now, this family was a bit wealthy. I kept imagining what would happen to me if I said anything against this guy. They're wealthy, they have everything. Anything could happen to me. So I kept quiet. So how grandma got to know this story now, years later, I was 12, I think. 12 or 13, I think I was 12. Was when one time this guy was sent to come home, I think, still in Toro, to come home and give grandma a message. And then he was at the gate knocking. He knocked for quite a while, and then grandma, distressed, who's knocking the gate at this time really? So she sent me, go check who's on the gate. I ran to the gate, I opened, and it was this guy. I froze for a moment and just screamed, and he rolled off and left. So grandma asked her, why are you screaming? What's wrong? I told her, it's Richard. He had come to see you, I think, but he has not entered. Once I started screaming, he left. So she asked me, why are you screaming? I was still afraid of telling her. She sat me down and told me, tell me the truth, why are you screaming? I had to open up and tell her what happened. She was really saddened by the whole thing. She wished I had told her on time day. But now years have passed.
Yeah.
She chose to also keep quiet about it and pray for my healing in my heart and all. And also try and forgive them.
And that's a sad thing about such things that happen in families, because people are more concerned about what that would look like for the family.
Exactly. And now, why grandma could not even raise the issue? The house we were living in is a house of, this guy was a nephew to the owners of this house. So grandma was like a custodian to collect the rent as the tenants are paying in every month. We were there as custodians. So raising this up would literally amount to them kicking us out. So that's how she just decided to let it pass and pray for me for healing and forgive and let go. She kept asking me to just release certain things and don't let them sit in my heart. But that was a heart that I did not know how to go by. I didn't know how to. I knew in my heart that someone has done something nasty to me, and I will never forgive them for it. So for me, there was nothing like forgiving. Why am I forgiving this person? So that passed, life goes on. And later in life, I now come to Kampala. I was excited. If I remember very clearly, while I was in Tororo, before I was in Kampala, I was in primary 6 going to primary 7 in one of the village schools. So when I was brought to Kampala, the child that was going to primary 7, Abuat for that matter, like I was a good performer. I was taken back to primary 5. It was so sad. But then later I realized it was worth it because I needed certain foundations certain basics to be set right. So it was a good thing for me. So while I was in Kampala, I lived with my aunties called, I don't know why, but I lived with my aunties. I still don't know why mom's situation was. Like I could barely, even when I later found out mom was my mom,
Yes.
She was barely around.
I mean, you hadn't really built a relationship with her from a young age.
Exactly. There was no relationship. But I knew she's my mom.
Yes.
So I lived with my aunties, and then Later, when I started P7, I remember writing a letter to my mom requesting to stay with her. And the message in that letter was, I wanted to know how it feels to live with your own mother under the same roof. But now she was already married to someone else, my brother's dad. She was married to him, and I think according to her, she needed consent from him. So when she read the letter, she was like, let's wait for your dad to come back. And I asked him, if he permits, he will stay. If he doesn't, so he came back, and I think they had a talk, a very lengthy talk, because I remember sitting outside the house for hours waiting for a response.
You were already...
Yes. Well, I think my aunties had sent me to do something there. But then in the process, I decided to write and request. It was in Boyogere Progressive. They were actually living in the staff quarters. So I wrote a letter, requested. I had to wait. After a long time, Mom came and told me, it's okay, you'll just stay with us for the holiday. And then after the holiday, you're back. Somehow my work was short-lived. I had to travel to the village. My grandma fell really, really ill. And there was nobody that was available to take care of her except me. She fell very ill. I almost thought she would pass, but the Lord held her and she stayed. So after the work, I joined Senior 1 in Rubaga Girls.
Did they allow you to stay after they kept you waiting for a while?
Yeah, for a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I was told I would stay for the holiday, but then I had to travel then, go and take care of my grandma. So when I came back, I went to Senior 1 in Rubaga. Then now every holiday, I had to go and stay with Mom. Now she had shifted from the job she was at. She was now elsewhere at an orphanage in Namataba, more towards it's in Mukono, literally, a bit further. So every holiday I was meant to stay there. And man, just when you think, finally, I have gotten what I wanted. I found a home, I found people that love me and care. I've actually gotten even a dad, you know? It wasn't what I expected. So we lived for I think when I was in Senior 1, I was an okay time. I didn't really, looking at him as my dad, I think he made it a bit hard. You know, there's fathers that when they are around, all the children should disappear. He was that tough. Like, everybody was afraid of him. So he did not make it easy for us to bond as father and child. Even with his son, the little boy, recently he was talking to me and he was like, do you know, I don't even remember my childhood with my dad. I was like, oh well, that's his life. So that was the kind of man that he was. In that when he's coming back from work and he's at the gate and he knocked, we all knew how he knocked. He knocks on the gate and everyone is like, who is going to open? I'm not opening. So everybody
Terrified.
Yes, everybody would flee to look for where to hide. You've done literally nothing, but that is just him. You're loud, you're wild, so you don't want to be in his bad books at any time, or you don't want him to find you walking anywhere anyhow, because it would be horrible. So that was the kind of person that he was. He didn't make it very easy to bond with him. But even then, after the first year of living with him, from 2005, I first lived with my aunties as I was in school. Then 2006, I was done with P7. Then 2007, I was now with them. So in 2007, a bit of it, that is how, like, he was, I don't know how to describe, he would care you.
Did he discipline?
He would spank anybody, including the glove. So it was hard to be around him. Yeah. But once in a while, I try to be the one that does not fear him. Like,
was there something that maybe happened that marked you in your journey with him?
I don't know, but fast forward 2008, I'm going to my senior 2, that was in St. Joseph's, Dankalama. And then this man takes a whole different turn altogether. From this very tough man, now he is very interested in my life. He wants to know how I am every day. Have you eaten? Are you okay? Do you have this? Do you have that? I'm like, okay, this is strangely nice. I don't get it. What changed? I couldn't explain. Then every once in a while, when mom's not around, and then maybe one other thing I didn't mention is, when I say us, the children, mom had a big heart. She was the kind of person that welcomed everybody. The fact that she was running an orphanage, was the HM of the school, the orphanage school. It was owned by my grandpa, the brother to my grandma. And then my aunt was the admin in the whole side. So they were literally running this whole thing together. So when I say us, there's children that to her felt like her own, like her. So there was people, if I could mention names, maybe I shouldn't, but they were in total, including me, we were 8. So we were 8 children in one house. How we lived together, I still don't know. But we did, and we were happy as children. And mommy did not seclude anybody or sideline anybody. And no, you're not my child. Actually, one of the children reached out to me recently. She's in Dubai. She reminded me of how mommy loved them more than she loved me. Like, she clearly remembered, because there's things that she would do for them and she would never do for me. And it would get me jealous a lot. But I realized that this is her, I cannot change her. And it was a good thing she blessed their lives, because they were orphans and they needed the love. So what was I saying? Where was I? So this 2008, when this man took a different turn, I didn't understand him. So every once in a while, when maybe the rest of the kids are not home, maybe they've gone, because I wasn't going to the same school as them, maybe they've gone to school or prep or something, because as me, I was on holiday. For them, even in the holiday, they would still study up to a certain time. So on those moments, we would utilize those moments to talk to me, find out how I'm doing, want to take me out. And then one of these days, the stand guy just comes back to me and goes, "Fun, it's a net phone. Like, I'm open forward." And he gives it to me and he's like, "This is for you." I'm like, huh? What have I done to deserve this? Like, this is too drastic a change, you know? No, I want to show you my daughter. I realized I need to love you more. I'm like, oh, but this is nice. Okay. So I took it in, but then I remembered one particular day for the Sunday when I was going to church to pray. And she told me, while I am away and this guy is around, please be careful. Yes, he's my husband, but again, he is not your father. So I do not know. I cannot say I trust him enough to leave you in his care. Just be careful. You just never know.
Okay.
So I listened to her, but I don't know if I took like segment serious. Until this thing started happening. It started with the telephone, and then the next thing, he's buying lip panty, nickel. Like, okay. This love. It's strange, but okay, I'll take them. I kept him. The next thing I know, he wants to take me out. I'm like, Dad's like, Mother, no, about this. No, she doesn't need to know. I'm like, she doesn't need to know. Okay. But I would reject the outing because obviously Mom is going to realize I am not at home. He is not at home. So if they're both not at home,
Where could they be?
They're together somewhere. So for the going out, I bought would reject. And then he took my album, my photo album. You know, at a high school, you have all these nice photos of yourself. And then he don't change. So there's, back then, photographers would take pictures of us. After the big one, they'll give you still a small picture.
Oh, yes.
Go within.
Like wallet size, yeah.
So he would get those and put them in his wallet. And he will boast to his friends out there on his girlfriend. I had lecture. How we got to know about this, his testament, without that or somebody that told me. They did tell Mom, but when I got the information, so I went looking for my album and the house wasn't there. I asked him, do you know my album? He's like, well, I kept it for you. I realized your pictures will get spoiled in here. And okay. I kept quiet. And then it just so happens that I think he was giving his all and I wasn't getting anywhere close to where I wanted him. So he started to be a little bit outright. He would want me to be the one to serve his meals. Mom is around, but he doesn't want Mom to serve him. It's me that should serve him. He doesn't. His sister is around, but it is me that he will fall for anything that wants in the house. Wants his clothes ironed, it's me. Wants water to drink, it's me. He wants water to bathe, it's me. So it was quite difficult. And then I had to try a way to try and let Mom know. Every time I tried to tell Mom something is off about this, I'm not liking it. But I would try to gesture, but she didn't get it. And then one time she travels to Tororo for burial. Holiday time. Now, during the holiday, despite the fact that these were orphan kids, some of them would stay with us, and then some of them would go to their relatives. We are in the house. In the night, actually, my brother was asthmatic. We're in the house, asleep. Guy comes knocking on my door in the middle of the night. He comes knocking like something was after the boy. So I rushed to open and my first from the gate and no? He's okay. He closed the door and was there just in a box. Now for me that was a sight that hurts for it and to meet like I would never have wanted to look at a man in there. Just it was disturbing to my brain. So in him locking the door lock, he tried to force me. He wanted to use me out of fear, terror, and then I cried a lot, and then I messed on my shoulder. You understand what I was saying? I peed, I did everything that I could knock out on myself, and then out of anger and the bad smell, and we slept here and walked out. But I would say, messing on myself still. Like hadn't I? But I've had us there. He went out, went back to the bedroom, and then the next day, Ma was coming back, and then he was traveling away. I could not find a way to tell Mom about this, but one of the boys that's in Libri was around. I talked to him about it. I asked him, how am I tell Mom this? He told me, I do not know about funding. Cannot keep quiet about this. So I got out during the day. Now Mom is home, this guy is away. I went and asked her, Mom, is your husband coming back today from where he has one tooth? There is money. And if he's not coming back, then and she said, it's okay, you can talk it. So I talked to her. I told her everything. She first did she told me, you're lying, somebody. Do you have any evidence? Do you have proof for this? So that I have all the pictures. I went and brought out all the things she would buy, rather than he would buy stuff. He saw everything. He saw the phone, and she was like, even I don't own the phone this expensive. I'm like, yeah, at least I have no job. I am no boyfriend. There's nobody better that can buy me these things. And I will be crazy to plot something like this against your husband, like
benefiting you.
So she listened to me. She cried. She called her sisters. She talked to them. She needed someone to talk to. She called her mom, my grandma. She talked to them. And then somehow when he came back, I went around with thought that school doesn't want school. I just had the news. They dealt with me, helped me. So that is how their separation happened.
Oh dear.
And then, I found one. A few years down the road, and my dad. Like that.
The man you had been longing to see.
It was a beautiful thing for me in my heart. Because Mom told me, I'm taking you to your auntie's place on your dad's side. Back while you're there, I think your dad is going to come and see. He's like, fine, and I'm going to have time, and at least I'm going to spend the holiday with him.
Yes.
So I was happy, I was excited. So when I was there at this lady's place, they happened to lose somebody. And then they had to go to barrier one on the day. He said he wasn't well, he couldn't go. So my aunt told me, since your dad is not well, remain back and take care of him. We cannot all go and leave a sick person in your house. I was like, oh, it's okay, he's my dad after all. Yeah, so I remained with him. I did everything I had to do. I cook and all. In the night, we were watching TV news actually, NTV. And then he was like, come and sit me and daddy. I felt nice. It was so nice. So I sat by him, he held me, we're chatting as we're watching TV. And then he happens to say, he was like, me and you are related only from the waist upwards. I'm like, wait, are you trying to tell me you make my dad? No, that's not what I say. I am your father, but we are only related from the waist upwards. Like, okay. And I don't think I'm getting what you're saying. It's like, do not pretend usinielewi, like don't pretend you don't understand what I'm saying. And he speaks Swahili. And he would of course mix in and then in and out. And I'm like, I do not get what you're saying. And then slowly he started to literally caress me, to touch my boobies. And I'm like, no. Like in my head, I'm thinking, no, you can't be doing this. You're my dad. Like, yes, I am your dad, but things happen. You're an adult.
No way.
I was so standing. So in trying to reason with him, he also now started to try and forcing his way on me. I cried to God. I cried to God and said, God, you cannot let this happen to me, not with my own dad. I felt cursed. I felt, I do not know, like something had engulfed me. Why me? What is it about me that men cannot see me the other way? Why do they have to view me in this sense? It didn't make sense. We scuffled. We literally had a fight. In the crying, God had me. I think he was tired of the back and forth. He gave me one serious slap. My ears went out of anger, and then he left. He went to the bedroom.
I mean, after all, I'm just thinking, after all the men have done that, including your own father, who do you trust?
Exactly. So in the morning, I packed my bags and went back home. By then, Mommy was already living in Watoto, Bira. I sat on a border with my suitcase and went home. And he tried to call her, but she wasn't picking. He really tried. So when she got home, she was angry with me. Why did you leave? What's wrong with you? I took you there so that I told her, there's a reason as to why I left. I was afraid of telling her. I didn't tell her.
Sure.
I wrote it down in my journal, and that is how she found out. I think like 2 years later, she landed on my journal and read this and was like, this happened to you and you never told me? I told her,
How good.
I didn't know how to tell you this. But then it sort of broke the whole idea of trust in. I did not know how to trust.
Yeah.
Because even with my mom, I think my mom was still a bit bitter with me, knowing her husband had literally almost as if left her for me and preferred me over her. So despite the fact that we're living under the same roof, she was really bitter. And then I did not know how to go about, I didn't know how to help her. But she was bitter.
I remember you telling this story way back in 2012 at the children's camp in Buloba, the spiritual emphasis camp, and I came to teach a session, but I don't even remember to this day what I taught. It's like God brought me there to hear your story, and I sat behind. And when you began the story, puppy love and all that, the young people were giggling, and until you got to those parts where you could hear a pin drop, and they began sobbing, and I was sobbing. I'm like, God, none of your daughters ought to go through anything like that. And I sensed in my heart, Lord, it's like you want me to do something in her life, whatever it is. Just know my answer is yes. All you need to do is, show me what it is. And I think that's when we kept in touch with you. And until when I received a phone call from you, I think that was after you had also shared this same story at the bonfire or Total War. And many young ladies began opening up about the same and finding healing. But it was after that you called me and said, Dad, I don't remember what we spoke about, but that was after hanging up. I thought, God, you possibly can't be asking me to be her dad. After all the men have, disappointed her, I don't want to be too careful around her and I become useless. But that is when I got to know that something and God, I heard as if God say, just capture my heart and relate to her, and that will be enough. And I think
that's where it began, yeah. And I'm grateful because you're showing up. Your showing up brought a lot through you. The Lord used you to heal me, because I don't know if I would have ever gone past this. I don't know if I would have healed from this, because it was too much, a little too much. But you came in and showed me that, you know what, despite the fact that they've done all this, I'm here. That swept me off my feet. I was happy. For you, it was Bulova.
yes.
For me, it was on a different day.
Okay.
When I told my story at a pregnancy crisis center, you happened to move with us that day. And then after I told my story to the young ladies, you came out and apologized on behalf of all the men that had wronged me. Now, to me, that was the beginning of my healing. I felt like, wow, one man has come out to apologize for the people he even does not know about. It was hope for me. It was literally healing for me. And ever since then, I'm a happy girl. I'm a happy girl with the best father ever. You.
Thank you very much. And you see, it took me to realize that God works through human fathers, and with our imperfections, that's where He comes in. And through our imperfections, He teaches people grace. But through the commitment, healing happens when people know that you're not going anywhere. And what really struck me was just knowing that there is a lot more God could do. What you didn't know was I was praying for you, and I was saying, God, this is what I want you to do. Help my daughter, now that she's completed studies, to fall in love with a man after your own heart. Then I will know her healing is complete. And when we went out, we did a number of those, and I didn't care what people were saying. Can't he pick someone his size? But I knew I was a father, and I love the fact that we had very clear boundaries on how men ought to respect you, purity and all that. But for me, that day before we had lunch, I remember you saying, Dad, I want you to know that I want you to be the first to know I'm in love. And I remember just tearing, because that's exactly what I'd been asking God, and you didn't even know about that. And I asked you, what's he like? You said he respects me, doesn't touch me, doesn't ask for sex. As a result of our relationship, I'm closer to Jesus. And that you were running basically through all the things we had agreed on. And you said in a small way, he's like you. I was blushing at that time. And honestly, and that request you made to walk you down the aisle on the 7th of May, 2021. And yes, to 8th of May, 2021. And that was the happiest day of my life. You don't, you wouldn't understand. And I walked you down the aisle, and when I look at the photos, I'm like, wow, look at what God can do.
It was the best waffle and I ever had.
Yes, sure was. But for me, this, and not just from there, it's you and Mike being a part of our lives and joining us on family gatherings and different things, and being there when you're delivering your first, after you delivered your firstborn, Micah, and the secondborn. It's man, I'm like, wow, now I'm a real grandfather. But it's just beautiful. Honestly, thank you for being strong. And I know there are many people that are dealing with pain, with a lot of, because they think maybe there's a curse on me, why this happens to me. But no pain is ever wasted when it comes to God.
True.
Romans 8:28 says that God causes all things to work out for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purposes. And you see, through your story of brokenness and restoration, God is reminding everyone that, hey, you know what? There is hope. It doesn't matter how bad it is. That is a perfect opportunity for God to show himself as the God of all flesh, for whom nothing is impossible. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wound. And so thank you very much, Belinda, for sharing your story. I don't think it would be fair to end this without giving someone an opportunity just to receive healing. And healing begins with Jesus. Because when Jesus is the Lord of your life, this is the biggest healing that you can ever receive. But also, if you're going through pain and maybe your story is similar to what she has gone through, I want you to know that there is possibility for you to find healing. So let's pray together. Father, I thank you for everyone who has gone through pain, because Jesus, you are the healer. And I pray in the name of Jesus that you bring restoration to every fiber of their being. And I pray to for those who have not yet received you as their Lord and Savior, would you, Lord, just touch their hearts right now by your Holy Spirit to realize how much they need you, so that they can surrender their lives to you and find healing. Would you just pray this prayer with me? Jesus, thank you for loving me. Thank you for dying on the cross to pay for the penalty of my sins. I receive you as my Lord and Savior. Thank you for loving me. Help me to surrender to you every day. In Jesus' name, amen. If you prayed that prayer, you are a child of God. Find a Bible-based church and grow together. Let's grow. Welcome to the family of God. God bless you.